Thank you so much for joining us. We are doing something new and exciting with this season of No Longer Silent. This time, we are going to insert voices of other national leaders to help expand the conversation. We hope you enjoy this new feature and let us know what you think in the comments.
Damage from the deep cuts to Medicaid in President Trump's spending bill could extend far beyond rural hospitals.
This is just one in a series of many, many cuts we're seeing across health agencies across the country.
Billions of dollars are on hold nationwide.
A local nonprofit organization says recent cuts under President Trump's new spending bill will force them to cancel one of their programs.
Federal officials are cutting more than $11 billion from health organizations across the nation.
No Longer Silent. Advocacy Leaders Unmuted. Hello, and welcome to another episode of No Longer Silent. Today's topic is racial disparities in healthcare aren't accidental. And we are speaking with Miss Vanessa Lathan, a patient advocate. And I am going to let Vanessa introduce herself, talk a little bit about her background. But first of all, I just want to welcome you and thank you for the opportunity to discuss your story and experience as a patient and a patient advocate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's nothing like being in the presence of another Black woman to talk about healthcare in general, because that is not something we typically do in the Black community, and also to show up not only unapologetically Black, but unapologetically disabled. My name is Vanessa Lathan. I am based outside of DC in Northern Virginia. I live with multiple invisible disabilities, chronic illnesses that are not curable, one being a rare autoimmune disease that I live with for 9 years that centers around chronic pain and chronic fatigue. That condition, among others, has completely turned my life upside down, from not being able to get out the bed, not being able to take care of myself, meaning wash my clothes, wash my body, take care of my hair, do things that every person normally does, until you have widespread chronic pain from head to toe. Until when you go to sleep, your body, your energy is not restored. You have confusion, you have numbness, you have tingliness throughout your body, and you're losing yourself and you can't figure out why. This has caused me to lose employment, struggle to find employment, lose myself, be mentally unstable, all of the things which led me to want to get involved into disability justice. Because it's already hard showing up Black, then you add on a woman, and then you add on disabled, and baby, the world does not want anything to do with you.
Woo, wait, so sister. First and foremost, you just dropped a whole lot of nuggets there that I really want to pause and go back and unpack just a little bit. First thing that caught my attention is you said that you live with multiple silent diseases. Tell us what a silent disease looks like.
Sure. I'm sure there is a medical definition for it, but I kind of use like my own way because I'm trying to get people to understand it. And one thing about healthcare is healthcare speaks to healthcare. They do not speak to the average person, the average American, let alone the Black community. So I try to speak in language where my peers can understand. So when I say silent, hidden, invisible, because even that, so many people use different terms, it means when you look at me, you don't think that I could be living with chronic illness because I look quote unquote not sick or quote unquote normal. You know, those things, we have an idea of what sick looks like instead of realizing that sick looks like all of us, because you never know what someone is going through. So when I say a silent disease, I mean that I'm living with something that you cannot see. I'm living with a disability that you cannot see. For example, when you see someone in a wheelchair, you recognize that they're disabled. But if you were to see me walking down the steps and I grab my leg like I'm in pain, you're going to start talking about me and projecting and all the things, not realizing that I have mobility issues because I live with chronic pain.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. Can you talk about the discrimination in disability and in healthcare?
I think it goes and starts with what I said earlier. We perceive sick to look a certain way.
Right.
If you have heels on, makeup, dressed to the nines, oh, she can't be sick. She can't be going through anything. She can't be living with a chronic illness. Or we think that if you went to college or if you have a degree, if you have a certain type of job, you can't be possibly living with a chronic illness. And all these create this discrimination and stigma where people are afraid to show up as their authentic self and say, hey, I'm sick. And then if you get sick at a job, which has happened to me twice now, jobs aren't really understanding. You know, people don't know what it means when I say I need to take a nap in the middle of the day because I have chronic fatigue. I have non-restorative energy. I can't stand for a long time because my legs hurt. Or on certain jobs, you'll see that they have physical requirements, be able to lift 50 pounds or be able to do X, Y, and Z. And those things right there discriminate against those of us living with invisible disabilities, and even going through the process of trying to get the correct paperwork to document yourself as disabled is hard too. And not even just from accessing like the social service systems, but then you even have to work with a Medicare system that believes in research and data and biases that Black women are more prone to pain. And even as a community, it's sometimes like, girl, we all have pain, or girl, we're all tired. That's stigma
Right.
too.
Right.
So
Right.
trying to show up as disabled is very hard in so many ways. Like it literally impacts my life every day.
Whew, yes, yes, yes. This is about to get good, y'all. Lock in. So, racial healthcare disparities are the byproduct of decades of policy choices that delay diagnosis and restrict care. And these restrictions and delays dismiss entire communities' rights to access and agency. So, from your vantage point in the grassroots advocacy and policy, how do you respond to people who still see racial health disparities as a matter of personal choice or bad luck rather than a result of systemic policy decisions?
Angry, upset. Why are you in the field? If I'm being
Mhm.
honest, when I sit in policy meetings or any meeting in healthcare, health policy, public health, that's why I have on my shirt that racism is a public health crisis. People want to blame the other person. That's why I will say it a lot, depending on the environment, that white privilege is really the issue, because you don't realize how you sitting here at this table. I'm getting upset when we say health equity, when we mention Black, when we mention the people of color. It's just like, oh my gosh, well, try showing up Black. And I had to say that actually in a policy meeting over the summer. Like, I understand showing up as a patient advocate is not easy. You're not listened to. People look down on people with lived experience. But when you show up being Black, there are so many meetings we have to sit at and hold our tongue just because we need to provide for our family. We need
Right.
to provide for ourselves. The people that are making these policy decisions, that are running these organizations, don't know what it's like to have to show up and be a Black woman. I want the next Black girl, the next generation or next generations, when I'm long gone, to not still be sitting here dealing with the same issues that previous generations went through.
Yeah, that's good. So Carrie's Touch, we say that we want to have policies in place that support Black women who are navigating a breast cancer journey with the understanding that our experience and our journeys and the resources that are available to us, access, lack thereof, education, and the list goes on. But we want to affect change in policy. But we know that the only way to do that is you've got to have the data to prove that we are experiencing what we say that we are experiencing. And then you've got to have enough data to consider it gold standard research. That's why you have to reach all of these numbers. And sometimes, based on the reasons that you just illuminated, that sometimes it can be discriminatory if you reveal various things about yourself. So then the data remains skewed, which means the outcomes remain skewed, which means the policies remain skewed, right? And so when we show up in these spaces, like you're saying, that sometimes we are angry because we are tired. Sometimes we get tired of explaining what it's like to just live as a human being who has a different shade of skin. So there's often a call for more before action can be taken. So, how do you respond to this idea that there is a need for more proof to address racial disparities and they're already documented?
I think it's a cop out. I
Mm,
100% agree with everything that you said. And it's just like, I feel like when you're not a Black woman, when you're not a person of color, when you're not a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, it's just like, oh, I feel bad. But while you go sit home and those numbers don't affect you because your face, your sister, your mother, your daughter is not in those statistics because you're not a Black woman, it doesn't hit home.
mm,
And so when we say we want to collect data and we keep doing the same things, we don't reach out to Black
mm,
women-led organizations, Black institutions. I always say HBCUs, a proud
mhm.
HBCU
Right.
double on Morgan State University. Why
Yes.
aren't you reaching out to HBCUs to do the
Yeah.
research? You have sororities and fraternities. You keep doing research that's not reaching community of color nor hiring people of color. And then you want to keep going back to research. You are
Mm,
stalling. You're not doing anything but continuing to strengthen systemic racism. And
right.
that doesn't want to be said. Like, you are the issue. Healthcare
Mhm,
system, it wasn't made for us. It wasn't built for us, and it's not changing for us. So and I'm working on the data thing because I recognize that numbers change
mm,
everything. But just as
mhm,
you said, they're telling a false narrative, and it's very
mhm.
harmful to diverse, underrepresented, underserved communities.
What do you say to the phraseology of you've got to sometimes lose the battle in order to win the war?
I hate it. To me, to just be frank, I don't want to sit up here and say, well, we won this. And then in 5 years, because you got to realize we're already behind. We are not being
Right,
proactive. We're
right,
being reactive and
right,
reactive of decades, if not centuries. So by the time we get to where it gets to that it could possibly
right,
be really centered on black people, black women, you
right,
know how many more lives would have been lost by then?
right, right.
But when you don't have to live in that every day, when that is not your culture, when that is not your community, when that is not your story, you do not get it. So for me, that resonates nowhere. And then it even makes me more mad when other people of color try to tell me that,
Mhm.
no, I know I'm not going to be satisfied. I am not easily impressed. Like, great, you should have been doing that 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah,
no, that's how I
yeah,
feel. No.
yeah. We want to pause for a moment to thank our platinum partner, Amgen. Amgen has been a consistent partner who not just talks the talk, they fight hard to illuminate voices and experiences of diverse patients. We're truly thankful for such a beautiful partnership. You know, the fight is hard, the fight is necessary, and the fight needs people like us. Is there anything I haven't asked you, but you want to make sure that you say to the people?
I did want to say one thing that I did not say earlier is that when we say hidden, invisible disabilities, or just being sick, chronically ill, because again, chronic means long term, even I want to terminally ill too, that affects everybody. I think we need to stop, including calling out my black folk, calling out the
Right.
black community, stop saying that chronic illness, disabilities is just 70 and up, 60 and up.
Hmm.
That really does people a disservice, because when I was first diagnosed with my autoimmune condition, I was 25, 26, and you never expect that. And we live in a world and a culture and a community where only addresses sick at an elder age, and you are really hurting young people, you are really hurting kids. So I really wanted to take the time to say that on this platform too, that chronic illness can impact anybody.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely necessary. There needs to be a revamping of the entire system. And do you think that there are any allies out there that can help us get closer?
Yes, I do think that there are allies, but we need more. First, as the Black community, we need to stay together. There are so many things that are taking us apart. And then, as communities of color, I wish we could come together with the Hispanic, Latinx. I know that's another community that people use different terms, Asian Americans, anyone that identifies as a person of color, a part of the diverse community. How can we come together and fight back and unify and stand strong? There are so many health conditions like lupus or breast cancer, HIV that are disproportionately impacting the Black community, communities of color. And if you don't have those communities, especially those with lived experience, survival experience, running those major organizations, that's an issue. We need more true, consistent allies, not when it looks good on your resume or looks good for a job application or to get on TV or to get a grant. We need every day consistent, because that's what Black women do. You gave that example right there with the bill. We show up for everybody, and we are tired of showing up for everybody when no one shows up for us consistently.
Let's bring another voice into this conversation. But when we're talking about moving this political needle, we've got to come up with some new strategies.
You know, people are afraid to talk. Yes. There's a few things that we really need to do, and one is to build support before you speak out. So you know that there's an issue, you're going to be speaking out. If you can gather up your allies, it does increase safety and impact that feeling of safety to have that group with you. It's also good to use stories and data. I often sit in hearings, folks will come and testify before the legislature, and they have all this data, and you can see them almost going to sleep. Their eyes are glazing over. But somebody comes in with a powerful personal story, and you see them wake up. And so I think as a strategy, we need to use both. We need to get the stories out there as well as the data, and we need to speak to both the hearts and the minds of people. Start where you feel comfortable, where you feel you have the power, and where your voice has the most reach, and use that as a jumping point. Ground yourself in your purpose, not in a performance, but in your purpose for getting things done.
Be sure to come back and check out Sandra's full episode. How can millennials use their voice? And I want your strategies. I mean, we know we're angry. We know we're tired. We know in many cases we're a divided community. We know all of these things, we're we're marginalized. That healthcare disparities remain prevalent. There's not been much change and much shift. But millennials have brilliant minds that are solution oriented. Yes, sometimes impatient, but still solution oriented. And I want you to hone in on what are the solutions, even if you don't believe them. What do you hope for?
We don't have a lot of multi-generational conversations. And one of
Okay.
the things that I've been preaching a lot about is, well, at first it was really passing the torch, but now I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of changing that to how can we lead together?
Mm-hmm.
Millennials are the biggest generation right now, and I will also say with Gen Z, because Gen Z is doing their thing as well. You can't win an election without us, so we have to come to some type of compromise. Like, we don't see our voices being heard or represented in policymakers, particularly at the federal level. It's like, oh, you have to wait until you're older, but so many of our elected officials that are in office now started when they were in their 30s. So it's like a lot of the things that we're doing are not really different. I think like they are just maybe more noticed or I can't even say it. Yeah, radicalized because of social media, because everything
Yeah.
is instant. You can see everything. So I think, to your point, I wish we could have more conversations like this. Like, how can we work together? How can we put our ideas together? Because I do believe that millennials, we care about everybody. We do want solutions, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to keep doing the same thing that did not work before. And I think that's where I tend to fall in disagreement with Gen X or baby boomers or the silent generations. Because, like, okay, well, we've been doing that for 20 years. Where has it got us? Millennials, we can be impatient, but at what point do we want more?
Right.
At what
Right.
point do we say we did that for 20 years? It's not working anymore. How do we try something else? How do we use technology? How do we move with the times? So I think solution is having more conversations like this, realizing that we have more in common, that we have differently, that we
Mm-hmm.
have to work together. I want us to just put our minds together, put our powers together, put our talent and resources together instead of trying to fight separately, find common ground and push back, fight back, stand back. Let's create our own table. Let's honor, let's give into, let's buy, let's support Black institutions, Black owned businesses, Black podcasts, Black creators. Like, let's give to us, like, let's empower us. Like, I think we need to remember who we are.
That's beautiful. And as a Gen Xer, I work with a lot of millennials and Gen Z. We teach each other. We get to grow from each other, right? And I don't think that the onus is on one generation to heal the brokenness of all generations, right? We're in a different space, we're in a different time, and it's going to require sacrifice on everybody's part and a heart of understanding and willingness to come and sit and be heard. But it only happens when it's reciprocal. You can't be heard all the time. Not saying
I
you.
agree. I agree what you're saying.
Any
Yeah,
given
I agree.
person, given generation can't be heard all the time. Everybody needs a voice. My challenge to you is to create the space. Don't wish for it. Don't wait for it. Create the space. All the things that you have shared in this conversation, create it. Don't wait, because then you're doing what you're complaining
You're
about.
right. You're right. You're
Wait,
absolutely
right?
right.
Waiting on
Call
somebody
me
else,
out. You're absolutely right.
waiting on somebody else to be the solution. You be that solution. Be the change that you're waiting for. Gandhi. You be that change. You are positioned, you are called, you are destined, you are purposed to be that change. You said it yourself. I am
You're
the
right.
answer to my ancestors' wildest dreams. Be that answer. One of my favorite quotes comes from Susan Taylor, former editor in chief of Essence magazine. She wrote a book way back in the 80s called In the Spirit, because she used to do a column called In the Spirit. And one of her quotes in there, she says that expecting people to function beyond their level of understanding is unfair to them and
Mm,
frustrating for you. So either accept people for who they are, and she said, or go on without them. And I modified it and said, or grow on without them.
mm.
It's okay. Some will, some won't. So what? Lead anyway.
That is definitely a message that I need to hear. I have a board over here that I put my little inspirational message up just to keep me encouraged. That
Yeah.
says, nothing changes until I change and I am
Yep.
in my own way. And
Yep.
I think I have to believe that I am powerful enough to
Mhm.
make this change. Because,
Yep.
if I'm honest, like, we all struggle with self-doubt, and we look at where we thought we
Absolutely.
would be, and
Yeah.
we look back over our lives and we haven't made the change that we thought we would make when it comes to racism or racial health equity or racial disparities in
Yes.
healthcare. And I feel like I can't do it, but your message is telling me I'm choosing not to do it.
You're
And I
choosing
needed
not
to
to
hear
do
that. And I
it.
thank you for that.
Absolutely. And thank you for receiving it. Right. Yeah. Well, this has been such an enlightening conversation. Thank you for just being who you are.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and
Yeah.
I truly appreciate the safe space because it's not always easy to just unapologetically show up as yourself. And I also appreciate the conversation of how can we work past some of this stuff and, like you said, just work together and all. We don't have to agree, but we can come to some type of common ground to move us forward. So I just appreciate you for everything that you're doing to continue to bring awareness to breast cancer in the Black community. And I do pray that one day the statistics truly change for Black women.
Oh, I appreciate that. Now, we spend a whole lot of time and we talk about some deep and some heavy topics. And so I like to end our conversations on a little bit of a lighter note.
Yes.
First question. What is the food that you would kill somebody over?
Ugh, steak. I can't eat it no more, but steak. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I miss it like it was yesterday. I have not had steak in 6 years, but I miss it so much.
mhm.
Ooh,
What brings you peace?
shopping.
What
Probably
brings
too
you
much
joy?
peace. Shopping too. I also love to solo travel.
Oh, okay. Where's one of your favorite places to go?
Last year when I turned 35, I went to Paris by myself.
You'll have to come back and we'll have to have that whole conversation because that's a
Yes.
thing in and of itself.
Yes. Yes.
And
Can't
finally,
wait
what's
on nobody.
no, you can't, right? And yeah,
Mhm.
you have to come back because I've got more questions around that. Solo travel
Okay.
as a person who lives with, silent, diseases, that had to be an experience. And finally, what's your guilty pleasure?
YouTube. Me and YouTube have a very unhealthy relationship. I can stay on there for hours scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And also, a lot of people probably never heard of this game, but it's a game called Toon Blast. It's basically where you like match the squares together. I'm almost to level 8,000, so those are like some of my guilty pleasures.
Oh, wonderful. If I had confetti, I'd be going, like on the
Thank you.
games when you reach a
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
level,
thank
it's like
you. Yes,
fireworks.
yes. Listen, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you again, Vanessa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to No Longer Silent Season 2, Advocacy Leaders Unmuted. Special thank you to our platinum sponsor, Amgen. Thank you for being such a long-time partner and friend in this advocacy space. And none of this would be made possible without our dynamic tribe here at Carrie's Touch. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Angelica. We will see you next time on the next episode of No Longer Silent.